Hi, welcome to Envision. I'm Deanne Conrad, Community Relations Supervisor for the Sioux Falls School District, and we are talking today with Dr. Brian Maher about our task force and the process we're using regarding facilities, trying to get community input on what we should do with the future of Sioux Falls schools. We have a great problem in that our enrollment is growing. We've talked to the community through community engagement meetings. Now we have this task force. What's their job?
Well, great point. And as you know, it really is a community process. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we've done very early on was really invite the entire community in to weigh in on the topic. And as much as we'd like to have every community member be a part of that task force, we had to figure out what's that manageable number who can bring the thoughts of the community into this group so that we can actually get about the decision-making process. So we have 30 members from the community who are really helping to inform the issues and help ultimately our board put together a scope of a project, and we're well on our way at this point.
Right, so we've had one task force meeting, and that was just a flood of information for those members to receive. And we do have a process then. We'll have 3 remaining task force meetings, and the goal by the time it's all wrapped up would be a recommendation to the board.
Right, boy, and you're right. We have 4 meetings put together. One that's been complete. So those go 2 in April and 2 in May. And before you start, you think, "Gosh, are we ever going to get to where we need to be?" And now that we've completed only 1 of the 4, I'm going, "Oh my gosh, do we have enough time to get everything in?" So you're exactly right. A lot of information, a lot of questions will spawn from that information. And now we're doing some homework to provide more information to that task force so that ultimately they can put together a prioritized list of recommendations that ultimately will go to our Board of Education for their consideration.
So the things on the table, and pretty much everything is on the table, but primarily we're looking at asking the task force, should we build on to existing schools? Should we consider a new facility somewhere? If so, what kind of facility should that be? Should it be a high school? Should it be a middle school? So just a lot to grapple with.
One of the things we talk about are there are really different buckets for considering the issues that face this task force. One of those buckets is really pretty easy to understand, and that's the enrollment. Where are we? Where do we project to be? And how do our facilities accommodate those enrollments? The other bucket that doesn't get talked about as often is, what about our aging facilities, and what sort of tender loving care do we provide those facilities, either from an update perspective or from a replacement perspective? And that's a complicated conversation to have. And then you get into, if you build new, where do you build new, and all of those things that really can cloud a conversation. And we really at this point want that conversation to say, do we need new facilities, and if so, at what level? Middle school, high school, elementary school, where do we need those? So it's a really complicated issue.
Right, so we have brought those 30 folks together who are doing a lot of work, a lot of learning, a lot of thinking about what the possibilities are. Ultimately, they'll present a recommendation to the board. The board will make a final decision about what that looks like, but it still won't be final in that if there is a requirement that facilities need to be built, or that the amount of cost for doing whatever the plan entails, that will be going back to the people of Sioux Falls.
Yeah, ultimately, as we talk about having the community really involved in this, there'll be the ultimate in community involvement, I anticipate, in September, and that'll be a bond referendum or an election day for the entire community to weigh in.
Yeah, so while we can't involve absolutely every person, you can be involved on that particular day when we get to that process. And certainly any of these meetings are open to the public, and we encourage participation. Also, we have a spot on our district website, which is sf.k12.sd.us. On the left-hand side of the page, there's an icon called Facilities Planning, and we have a spot there where you can go to the question corner. So if you have something that you're wondering about, or wondering if we've considered, or want to get a message to the task force, that certainly is a great place to air your question and get an answer. Thanks for joining us today on Envision.